Thank you guys so much. I'm here talking to Brad and Kenya Costanza. I'm so excited to get to speak with you. Thank you for taking the time and meeting with me and spending a little bit of your morning with me this morning.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Yes, it is.
So we're going to just jump right into the interview. I'm going to try to get a little personal with you guys, if that's okay.
That's
Please
fine.
do.
Okay. And I'll start with Brad. I know you're doing some amazing things, so will you tell us a little bit of what you're doing, where you came from, when you became an entrepreneur, just a little bit of a timeline between then and now?
Yeah, so I was in sales all of my life, and I was, financial sales and, just different kind of services of sales. And I knew nothing about marketing. And I did that for a long time. I'd always had the entrepreneurial bug since I was in, high school. I would go out and get lawn mowing jobs because my dad made me do that. And he's like, you got to learn this. And then I think this was out of laziness, is I got my friends I'd pay them half of what I made, like $20. I'd give them 10, and I'd make them do the work for me. So, it was it was born out of laziness, not entrepreneurial drive. But I've always had that drive to kind of do my own thing. And about in 2007 or 2008, I got laid off from the sales job that I had, and I had a choice, and it was go get another job or figure out how to never get a job again and work for myself. So I started an information publishing business, all different types of things, and I created a small publishing business at first to kind of learn the ins and outs of internet-based marketing and e-commerce. And I created that. I grew it to a nice six-figure business, and then sold that to a group of investors out of New Zealand in maybe about 3.5 years ago. Since then, I've been consulting with other business owners as with Costanzo Consulting, which is my own business, and helping them grow their revenues through all of the various tips and tricks I've learned in marketing, etc. Then just recently, and we can talk about this a little bit later, I've been supporting my wife, Kenya, in helping her. We've just recently launched a new business, and I'm kind of the marketing arm of that, but it's a coffee business. And so I've done a little bit of everything, from consulting to information to now physical products, and that's just but I haven't had a job since 2007.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, and now Kenya, tell me, and you can dive into what you're doing, which is amazing. I'm really super excited about what you're working on. So, share where you come from, and give everybody a little bit of background on you.
Oh, sure. Well, I come from Brazil. I moved to U.S. I think it was 2001, and it was very scary to come from Brazil to U.S. without speaking the language and not knowing the culture. But I was very excited too, because I always wanted to see more. Just growing up in Brazil, and I had so many opportunities here. Started with a small job working on a makeup counter, but that helped me a lot to learn the language and prepared myself for better things.
Right.
Yes, about 11 years ago, I started in the mortgage business without not knowing anything, but learned a lot, and I'm still surviving in that business, what is awesome. I have done very well. And just recently, like Brad said, we started the coffee business. It's called Stiletto Coffee. And it's been a different experience, but it's something that I always wanted to do, because growing up in Brazil, I'm from Minas Gerais, and we have a lot of coffee in that state. And I say that it's where the best coffee comes from. And moving here to the U.S., how can I put that? Like, I never liked the coffee very much, and I really wanted something that would remind me of my, of my country, of my mornings in Brazil. And talking to Brad, we decided, why not? Why not, start our own coffee brand and the taste that I like.
She's been living with an entrepreneur long enough. It finally rubbed off on her.
Yeah, and it happens. It totally happens. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But Brad can talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun, wild ride, and it's kind of fun to work together and support dream and use some of the skills that I've got to help make that happen.
And tell me real quick, because I know the mission behind your company, but can you dive into a little bit about that? Just because I love it. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I had living in US, I had the support of a lot of women in the past. You know, they gave me opportunities that I would never have gotten in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why not give back
Yeah.
to them? So part of the proceeds from our sales in the coffee, it's going to go to women organizations.
Awesome. I love it. I'm so excited. I plug you guys all the time. I'm
Thank you.
always like, I was like, have you tried? Someone's like, I'm drinking coffee. I'm like, really? What kind of coffee?
You try to
Yeah, coffee. And if you
Absolutely.
want to dive in on that a little bit more, I mean,
No, I think we're good on that. I think I mean, it's fantastic. It does make a great gift for your men who are watching this, but we're not here to plug me. We're really here to, because I love what you're doing, Amy, with the entrepreneur's wife.
yeah.
I know that it's not easy being a family, even dating an entrepreneur. It sounds glamorous from the outside, like, oh, an entrepreneur, he's probably rich. Not all entrepreneurs are rich, and
Right.
not all, and even the ones who are rich aren't rich all the time. So
Right.
I think it's cool that you're giving a voice to this community.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I think that I always say that when people see an entrepreneur and they see the end result a lot of times, or they see the good, the bow on the ugly, and I think that it's been humbling and a little bit putting yourself out there to pull the curtains back on being an entrepreneur and being married to an entrepreneur. But I believe that it's it's raw, but it's real, and
Yeah,
so it's good stuff. But
like a roller coaster ride. It's
it
definitely not like riding the small world.
it
Definitely
exactly
not.
exactly. So how long have you guys been married? How long have you been together? I know that
Well,
you
we've been together for about 9.5 years.
yeah.
We've been married for about 6 months.
Yeah, so you guys recently got married, and so tell me about, since you've been together. I mean, you guys have been together for a long time. Tell me about a struggle, like one of the biggest struggles that you guys have had. And I'll start with Kenya. Um, what's the biggest struggle that you've had being married to an entrepreneur or during the entrepreneur's journey? What has kind of stuck out to you has been like that's a really tough time that we've had to go through.
Well, definitely, like in the beginning, he worked very, very late hours. He was
Hmm.
always working. So we never, even when I was going to bed, he was still working till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right,
So we barely had our
We'd
own
see each
time
other when
to,
we were living together. We'd see each other for dinner, and that was about it. Because then
yes,
I'd
very
sleep
quick.
through the morning. I would sleep late, and she would be gone to work.
right.
Yeah. So that was one of the struggles and instability, of course.
Yeah.
I think everybody will say the same thing because
Hmm.
you never know. Uh, they always have great ideas, but most of them most likely will fail.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
That's
and
very
it's
true.
true.
But that attitude is understanding that attitude is really key.
It is. I mean, you're right. You get a lot of, this is going to be it, honey, and you have to find that place where you don't become jaded and the starting to not believe yourself when
Yeah.
they say that to you. So that's great that you said that because that's absolutely true. So
Yes.
Delusionally optimistic is what I like to call it. But you kind of have to be in order to be an entrepreneur because things get really hard, and if you aren't a little bit delusional in your optimism, it won't see you through those hard times. But it's kind of hard to live with somebody who's delusionally optimistic because I mean for obvious reasons.
right.
But
Yeah.
there's a fine line between perpetual failure and failing until you get it right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, you have to kind of become a hone your acting skills a little bit because it's hard for me because you can see how I feel on my face. So there's been many times where Matt's been telling me about an idea and he's like, wait, you don't believe, like you're not believe, and I'm like, no, I totally am. So,
Yeah.
it's you
As
have
your teeth are chattering and you're
to, you're like, we're gonna do what? What are we doing? Okay, great. So yeah. But okay, so Brad, what kind of sticks out to you has been kind of a struggle for you guys throughout the years?
well, so I mean, she's been really supportive. So I haven't struggled with anything from in our relationship from on her side,
Mhm.
but it has been a struggle just for me, knowing that one of the things that she values the most is stability and security, and knowing that, hey, I've lived a very hard life up until this point, and I've worked very hard to get the money I've got, and
Mhm.
I just kind of want to, you know, I want a nice, comfortable life
Right.
without being scared, and realizing that I don't have that in my genetics. Like it's
Mhm.
just I so it's balancing that out and trying to keep in mind that it's not just me, that it's both of us, and that I have to, I can't just because I'm totally cool living in like a one bedroom studio with Wi-Fi until I figure this out. Like I don't need a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
Not me.
I know that she needs like a 1.5 bedroom studio to be happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Twice that.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
One and a
it's
half.
yeah, so it's keeping that kind of in mind, and also just I think that's really been the biggest struggle just for me because I do make big decisions on that, and I won't compromise with what I want to a degree, but I have to. So it's trying to make sure that it kind of balances out, and it's because it's
Mhm.
not all about me. But
Yeah, and I think that that is kind of like the familiar strain through speaking with entrepreneurs and their spouses is that no, and no offense, but entrepreneurs tend to be a little selfish
totally,
because they have to put so much focus because hey, you're creating something yourself, and when if it's successful or if it fails, that's on you. You hold it so personally, and so to open that up and kind of be like one shared vision, like it's not just me. I have to think about someone else and how they're feeling, and like you said, Kenya, about the being stable. I mean, I think being an entrepreneur's wife, and you can agree or disagree, you kind of have to hold on, find a new kind of stable.
yeah.
It's not, a lot of people are like, well, we have a 9 to 5 job, we know our paychecks coming in. That's their stability. And when you're in the entrepreneurial family, you kind of have to find a new stable. Like your stable has to look different. So, I mean, would you agree, Kenya, that that's,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally, yes.
Yeah. And
So,
a good example is, recently to help get this business, the new coffee business off the ground, I had to let multiple clients go
mhm,
because I was like, if we're gonna do this, let's do this right,
right,
and let's build this up. So my income took a massive, massive hit, especially and I know it's for the short term because I will
right,
go back and start to work with other clients and create income even while the Stiletto Coffee is building up momentum, but I don't plan on taking a lot of cash flow from that to buy sandwiches.
right.
So um, the so we had this conversation last night. I was like, listen, I haven't personally made this little of money in years,
Hmm.
but I have to do it.
Right,
So she's like, okay, well, here we go again with this.
right.
I was like, well, okay, she's but she's supportive in that. And I was like, all right, I just got to get my hands dirty,
Right.
and but this is the stable. The new kind of stable is okay. I believe, that you have the ability to weather these storms and kind of come back from them. So I think that's
Right.
what's been
But it
keeping.
still worries me a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, I think that the worry never really goes away. It kind of increases and decreases as you maneuver through the path. But you're living outside of something that is, even though there's so many entrepreneurs out there and there's so many people that have built their own businesses, for some reason it just seems so out of the box
yeah,
for some reason. So I think that you know I think entrepreneurs and their spouses need to kind of cut themselves a break a little bit. Like worrying is okay. You're going to worry. You're going to feel stressed out. So I worry all the time.
yeah. Nothing wrong. It's a new kind of normal.
Yeah, exactly. So what has there been a moment during the past couple years that you've realized this is why I do what I do? I know for some it's being able to go to their kids, sporting events or whatever it may be, and it's different for everybody, that aha moment where you're like, oh, this is why I do this. See, this is why. And I'll start with Brad. So did you have an aha moment over the years that you're like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing?
I can't pin down a single moment, but I mean, if I were to, it might be the fact that we were living in Dallas, Texas for about 14 years, and 3 years ago, like I know, I'd sold my business, and I knew I was whatever I'm doing, I'm going to be able to work from a laptop and be location independent. And I just said, okay, we're moving to San Diego. I love San Diego, and I love it more than any other city in the country, and we're moving there,
Right.
and we had the ability to do that. And I think that I still pinch myself about how cool it is to be able to have that freedom
Mm-hmm.
to pursue the lifestyle you want, and
Right.
without anything absolutely tying you down. I think that was maybe the one of the more pivotal moments because it was the biggest demonstration of that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But then every day, I still recognize it because I didn't start off as an entrepreneur. I had jobs until I was like 3 or 4 years old,
Right.
and I had to report places, etc. And I like the fact that we go on vacation and I don't have to ever ask anybody for permission to go on vacation.
Right.
And I'm going to meet another, after this, I'm going to go have coffee and breakfast with another entrepreneur friend of mine. And for maybe it'll be a half an hour, maybe it'll be 2 hours or 3 hours. I don't know.
Right.
But I just like being able to set my own day with that. So
Mm-hmm.
every day there's a kind of a reminder that of why I do what I do.
Yeah, it's freedom. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's ultimate freedom. What about for you, Kenya? Is there a time that you can think of that's kind of been a pivotal moment for you, that you realize this is why we're doing this?
Well, for me, like moving to San Diego was great, but it was much harder for me because in the mortgage business, for me, I had to start my business from scratch.
Right.
So that took me a while to actually, say, okay, we're doing that, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like I'm still hoping that, especially now starting with my own business too, that eventually I'll have the freedom that he has because he
Right.
can move whatever he wants, but not me yet because I'm still have my mortgage business on the side that is not as easy to start over.
Right.
So I don't know. So I think I'm still waiting,
You're waiting for your moment. Well, you'll have to
I,
let me know. You'll have to
I am
call
waiting
me
for
or
my
be like,
moment. Yeah.
I had my moment.
Exactly.
Yes, and I'll have it.
Yeah.
I know.
You will. You totally will. I mean, you're going to rock it. So,
Because that's all I want to do. I'm
yeah.
very excited for our business, and that's what I want to do eventually.
Yeah, and Brad said something that's so true, that when you're in a marriage or relationship with an entrepreneur, eventually that entrepreneur bug, it's very contagious. I mean, you're like, I want to do that. I want to have
It
something. I want to have
is.
my own thing. So it's very common to catch the virus and want to become an entrepreneur yourself. So I can't wait to see what's in store for you in the future.
Yeah, I have learned so much just listening to his conversation all
Yeah.
these years. Because I remember in the beginning we would go for dinners and I would get so bored because
Yeah.
he's all he could talk about internet marketing and
Yeah.
business, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And
Right.
I could not get into the conversation. And today is
Right.
different. Like sometimes I don't get into the conversation, but I know exactly what they're talking about.
Exactly. So for both of you guys, and I'll let you guys just both kind of roll with it. But if you had to, or if you were sitting in front of an entrepreneurial couple that was just starting out in their journey, what would be some advice that you would lend to them?
You want to go first? Or you want me to?
You can go first.
So, assuming that it's the male who is the entrepreneur and it's
Uh-huh.
the female who is not going to be, but she'll be there to support, whether she's supporting him as like a housewife and mother to his children, or just, kind of like we are, where she's working. The advice I would give is to really, like you said it actually better than I could, which is understand what is a new kind of normal.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, understand that because you're going to have to create that it's going to be the roller coaster. You're going to have to accept the ups with the downs, and there'll be more downs than there are ups. That being said, I would both sit there and imagine the worst case scenario,
Right.
and that would be, let's just assume, I mean, the worst case is, death and dismemberment.
Right.
But let's, let's just say one of the worst case scenarios that in a lot of people's mind is going broke
Right.
and being bankrupt and
Hmm.
having no money, or worse than that, no money plus debt.
Right.
Right? So that is a very, very scary place to be, especially if you're not there right now.
Hmm.
If you're starting with nothing, hell, have fun with it because you got nothing to lose, right? But
Right.
if you're
Right.
starting with something and now it's like, all right, we're going to do this. What's the really imagine the worst case scenario? What if it is living in a smaller house or renting something or failing, being broke and having to get a job, um, and and living paycheck to paycheck again? If
Right.
that is the worst case scenario, and you cannot live with it, maybe then you have to have some bigger conversations. But if you
Right.
can, because you believe in each other and you think you're there, realize that honestly, that's not that bad, especially if the entrepreneur is going into this with the attitude that I go into it with, which is I'm there. I cannot fail. There is
Right.
only earn or learn.
Right.
I will figure this out. I will have like so with this coffee business that we've gone into, I was like, we can't fail. We may lose money,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna learn a lot about e-commerce, physical products, building a brand that can then translate to the next big thing, whether it's small, whether it's big, whether we learn about this and I get another client in that field that I can now help more. So I have to
Right.
continuously think about the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Understanding that there is no failure, there's only feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the worst case scenario, and if you can live with that, go with it. Um, and appreciate the advice I would give to the woman. Well, let's say the advice I would give to the man is understand that she's watching you and holding her breath and hoping that this stuff works out,
Right.
but be cognizant of that
Right.
and reassure her as much as possible and understand that if she's complaining, if she's worried, it's not necessarily because she thinks or wants you to fail. It's because she's just worried and she may not know how to deal with it.
Right.
But then on her side, the number one thing that Kenya did for me that's helped out tremendously, and I don't tell her enough, is just that kind of unwavering support
Mm-hmm.
of you've got this. I believe in you. You'll figure it out. Because in the darkest, sleepless nights where I am sweating and worried and wondering, am I a loser? Am I ever going to figure this out? Will it ever click? The fact that she's like, you've got it, is like that little safety boat. Because if she was echoing or even being louder than the negative voice in every entrepreneur's head,
Right.
that's either going to ruin the relationship and the
That's
marriage,
for sure.
or it's going to sink the business. Because as an entrepreneur, we are dealing with so much negative pressure, so few
Mm-hmm.
people understand us, so much risk, so much uncertainty. Because even though sometimes we put on this facade of, hey, I know what I'm doing, we
Right.
don't.
Right.
Never do we know what we're doing. So that's
Right.
kind of my advice, is just to really dig down and be, sympathetic to the other person's perspective.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that because it's true. Because in the moments where it's really hard, I would notice that when I would start expressing all of my fears and frustrations, I could see it was like my fears was making his fears come to life.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
like he could push it down and be good as long as I was good. But then when I started voicing the same things he was hearing in his head, it was catastrophic. Like it would be like mayhem. Like we can't both be, one of us has to be strong, you know?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I love that. Okay. So Kenya?
Well, my advice to the wives, I think, is to be supportive,
Mm-hmm.
uh, be excited for their ideas and their dreams, and I think most important thing, like, be patient. It's hard. It is hard, and I try to be supportive the most I can, but sometimes my worries come to life too,
Yeah.
and I end up mentioning one thing here, other thing there. But I think most of the time I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I think that you have to let it out sometimes. And that's why I think it's so
Yeah.
important to plug yourself into other powerful, like-minded entrepreneurs that are in the same place that have relationships, because that's where I think it was hard for me because I didn't have that outlet. Because a lot of times you can't speak to your husband about what's going on with you because it does make him feel that panic feeling that you're feeling. But if you can reach out to another wife and say, hey, have you ever gone through this? That's what the Entrepreneur's Wives community is about, is having that. So plugging into the right people and the right friends is so important. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh yes, for sure. And a lot of times, I just want to talk and I want to say something and I just hold back and I'm like, I don't
Thank
want to
you.
ruin it. And I know I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you learn how to not say it? I want to know because I haven't mastered
I
that
don't
skill
know.
yet.
I just hold back.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you come out.
Right,
You
right.
come out, but I try to avoid. I don't go too much on the
Hmm.
conversation. Sometimes I just mention something, and I think I did. I think it was yesterday. I did mention something, and but I just try to
But she
avoid.
mentioned it. She brought it up in conversation,
Yeah.
not in an accusatory.
Right.
She didn't let her emotions get the best of her. So I would say, yeah, like let your emotions calm down before you bring it up, because
Right.
most entrepreneurs are an emotional roller coaster as well, and it's just
Exactly.
kind of what happens. And it's also the other piece is it's also different. I think a lot of the stuff that you talk about applies to the like the wife or spouse of a workaholic too. So maybe
Yeah.
they're just a lawyer or a doctor, or somebody who just works a lot because they have a job they're passionate about. So there's a big overlap between the kind of the passionate workaholic and the entrepreneur,
Hmm.
but really understanding that the entrepreneur is absolutely married to their ideas and their business as well as married to you.
Right.
And it's hard. That's a hard balance, and it's not a balance that I think a lot of spouses want to really accept. But for instance, I have to be like, there's no point where I can just, it's very rare that I can just shut off my brain about business
Hmm.
for more than a few hours.
Right.
And I'm always thinking about it. What does it need? What does it need now? What am I giving it enough attention? It's the stuff that I should be thinking about my spouse, but I can't not do that. Like
Right.
and I don't think most entrepreneurs can. So especially a woman married to an entrepreneurial man who's passionate about what he's doing, needs to really kind of understand we're in a polygamous relationship here. He's married to me, and
Hmm.
he's married to his business. Sometimes married to just his ideas,
Hmm.
and if he has a business partner, he's married to that business partner in a very real way.
Yeah.
Financially, emotionally, he sees his business partner more often, and there's a big relationship dynamic going on there. So I think the best entrepreneurial wives in this case are really good at sharing.
Yeah.
And I think that and getting just understanding, okay, I'm going to share his attention, uh, hopefully not his intimacy with
Yeah.
the business. But I think that's an important kind of thing to consider.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I completely agree. And it's just finding, like you said, like, we were talking about finding your new norm because, everything that, for me, like growing up, very conventional, dad worked, mom stayed home, took care of the kids. I mean,
Same here.
yeah, so just knowing that that normal that you has been ingrained in you doesn't exist anymore. Like you have a new normal, you have to find new security, you have to find new balance, you have to find new footing, you have to find what makes it work. And every relationship is different, and what works for different relationships is different, but that remains the same. It's not going to be the way it was. It's
Yeah.
not. So, well, I'm so glad that I got to talk to you guys. You guys are so good and
Thank you.
awesome and beautiful.
Well, thank you. You too. And it's
Beautiful
awesome.
people.
Beautiful.
We're all beautiful. Well, it's awesome what you're doing, and I just commend you
Yes, it
for it, and I want
is.
you to keep it up. And I think you'll have a lot of success giving voice to this community of people who are like, I know, there's probably a lot of women who are just like, oh my God, finally somebody who's saying what I'm thinking and giving me an
Right.
outlet. But there's probably a lot of men out there who are like, oh, thank God somebody's talking to my wife. For this, and like giving, showing both sides of the equation, because it's something that often doesn't just get brought to light.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that you guys are uber super successful and there's going to be great things in your future. And I love you to pieces and I hope to talk to you soon, okay?
Oh, yes,
Absolutely. Thanks a
sure.
lot, Amy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.